But let's take a look if the Jets, how does this trade, the Dexter Lawrence trade, how does it affect the Jets? That's what we really want to know. Let me just check the news right quick. Okay, but how does this news affect the Jets? Well, you might be wondering. Well, now there's a new, top 10. Obviously, the Giants are here now instead of Cincinnati. Now, Cincinnati was not going to take a wide receiver under any circumstances. They're already giving they're giving a ton of their cap space to Chase and Higgins, so they were not going to get a third one here. Now, the Giants could. I don't think they should, but they could. So, but what they really should do is trade with the Jets and move back and get more players. Because one thing the Jets could do with 16, they may get worried that some of these teams are going to pick wide receivers and we're going to get shut out. Now, in my buckets, I have 7, so I don't think we can get shut out. But the Jets may have, 4 that they like. And the teams that could take a wide receiver up here, Cleveland could take one. Washington could take one. New Orleans could take one. KC could take one. They could do lots of other things. Miami could, and the Rams could, and Baltimore could. So that's a lot. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So what in our nightmare scenario, everyone out of our bucket is gone. All right, then somebody slipped and we get a good defensive player, as we've talked about. But that's possible. So the Jets, though, they may get desperate and a little worried. Maybe they really, really want their wide receivers, so they want to jump all the way up at least to here. I mean, they could maybe even want to get to 7. So the question is, does the value work out? Well, here's the value chart. So let's say we just want to get to 10 or 8. Say if we got to 8, we'd be sitting pretty. But so this 16 is worth 1,000. So we got to make up the difference of 400 points if we want to go all the way up to 8. Let's say to be super safe, we really want to get one of our guys. We don't want to chance it. Well, the way to do it is you go and give up this 44th pick because this is worth 460 points right here. So 460 plus 1,000 gives you 1,460. That gives you surplus value if you're the Saints. So maybe they want to do it. They want to go from 8 to 16 and pick up 44. Now, and then that way we're sitting at 8. We're going to get one of our wide receivers that we like. Maybe even Tate, though maybe not. It could be Tate, though, if you're sitting at 8. That'd be incredible. Because the Browns could go offensive line here. They basically have 2 needs, wide receiver, offensive line. The Redskins, or the Commanders, they could go any which way. Dan Quinn is their head coach. Maybe they want Bain. Maybe nobody knows what they're doing. Maybe they want, it probably depends who's on the board. If Caleb Downs is there, do they take him? I don't know. They could do anything. But then if we're sitting at 8, the worst we do is our third, the third wide receiver on our board probably we get. So I could see Muji getting pretty proactive to come up to 8. Now, Mickey Loomis is the general manager of the New Orleans Saints, and he traditionally does not like to move back. He likes to move up. This is where Aaron Glenn learned his philosophy, which he said on one of the interviews, where if you like your guy, go get your guy, meaning move up. That has been traditionally the Saints' way of doing things. So Sean Payton, Mickey Loomis had an influence on Glenn that way. That's where Aaron Glenn got that. And that's traditionally how they've operated. However, reports and comments by Loomis and fan sentiment out of New Orleans is this year he may want to move back for the first time in forever. So that would be a pick I would target to try to get into the top 10 if I'm Muji, if I'm nervous about losing out on these wide receivers. Because We didn't really address it in the free agency. Now, the good news there is then, all right, but now we have this pick 33 here, and there may be a bunch of teams, depending how the board falls, that want to go up to 33. So then we could trade this 33 back and maybe get, one of these picks here. So now plus one of these, or maybe a third round pick that we don't have. And so now we have another pick in the third round. So then we'd have one pick in round 2 and another pick in, say, round 3. Or if one of these teams has a couple of picks here in the second round, something like that, and we recoup some of the value that way. So that's one way that all of this could impact the Jets. The Giants should be in the market to trade this 10th pick, in my opinion. But if not, then certainly either Washington or New Orleans. I would target New Orleans with this, because if you look at Washington, we got to give them more to get this up to 500 points of value. Now, some of the other things that nobody else is going to tell you about, this is why you should be subscribed to the Frankie channel. If you look at these Bengals, they got a problem. Now, the problem is Dexter Lawrence is going to get a big contract. So what's the problem? Well, the problem is they got money problems. The Bengals, as of right now today, down here, the Bengals cannot pay their draft class. Now, this will probably change because now they don't have the 10th pick here. But their effective cap space is below 0. Meaning they're in the hole. Now, they're not going to be in the hole because now they don't have to pay the 10th pick. But nonetheless, they do not have a lot of cap space. And they can take some of those big contracts and move money around. But the idea is that they're not in a good cap place. They'll be cap compliant, of course. But since they're not in a good cap place, is there anybody on this roster that they may want to move for cap purposes? And yes, there is. His name is TJ Slaton. Now, we have a sneaky need for depth defensive tackles. He's a defensive tackle. And now, is he any good? Well, how much money does he make? So they could move. He's due for a $9 million cap hit with a dead cap of 2.5. So they could save about 7.5, which they need. So by trading him, they're going to save $7.5 million, which they need, and he's not great. Here's his grades for the season. Now, he's not great, but that's why we wouldn't have to trade too much. Like, I'm thinking a 2028 pick swap of 7th and 6th round picks, probably get it done. All they want to do is dump his salary. And for us, he'll be defensive tackle 6. So an experienced guy, you may remember him from his days in Green Bay when he was an average defensive lineman. As you can see here, has not been great the last couple of years, but an experienced guy, 3 sacks last year, a missed tackle percentage of only 7.3. For defensive tackle 6, and for a 2028 pick swap where they're just looking to dump salary, that could be something that interests us. Because of this trade. They're probably going to have to release him anyway. Somebody else we could look at is Chris Jenkins Jr., but it doesn't give them enough salary cap. And you may remember Chris Jenkins Sr. was on our team back in the Rex Ryan days. This is his son, Chris Jenkins Jr. So that's someone we could try to get, but I think TJ Slaton, it could be a target. Experienced guy, not great, just a salary dump, and so we don't have to give up much at all. They're probably going to release him anyway, and we could add to our team that way because we need more defensive tackles, and that's a sneaky need that no one's talking about.